Hi, in this episode of The Secret Sauce of Large OTAs, I have invited Alessandro Pacilio, who is a top exec at Booking.com. I think you will all agree with me that Booking.com is one of the leaders in demand generation. And so Alessandro has tons of tips for us on how to boost your property listings on their platform. He's going to share this with us, and also we're going to talk about revenue management, we're going to talk about flexible policies, we're going to talk about booking windows and urban versus leisure, and also quality score, something that you've probably been seeing on your listings. And we're going to talk about how does that work with Booking.com, and are they pursuing improving that for us, and how can we rank better in the quality score. So lots of interesting points. I very much encourage you to access this recording. It's both on podcast and on YouTube. And see you on the other side. Cheers. Hi, Alessandro. Thanks so much for participating in this podcast, The Secret Sauce of Large OTAs. And you're with Booking.com, but please tell us a little bit about your position at Booking.com and what your responsibilities are and how big your team is.
Sure. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. It's a pleasure to speak on this very hot summer day, as we were just discussing. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Alessandro. I've been in Booking for a while, around just over 7 years now. I'm originally Italian, started in Italy, and then moved to the Netherlands in our headquarters around 5 years ago. I am part of the product marketing team, which is focused on the short-term rental accommodation partners. And there I lead our efforts when it comes to what we call partner segments. So who are these partner segments? We basically have three main accommodation partner segments that we look after. We have professional property managers, of course, and then what we call more ambitious entrepreneurs, and also some multi-unit partners. So for these partners, basically me and the team, we make sure that we listen to the market, and we always keep our ears close to the ground to know what the feedback is and what is important for us to be aware of, so that we can develop products and services that truly match the needs of the partner and what is happening, of course, in the market. And then we also try to do our best to inform partners, like what we are doing today, in the ways in which they can use these products to maximize their return for the investment that they make in our platform. We also pay close attention to connectivity, of course, and connectivity providers and connect partners. Here, I think the listening part is, really important for us. And in fact, I believe you, as Renters United, are part of our advisory board in that space. So that's really, really important for us. So overall, for the short-term rental, we have an entire team of dedicated people here in the HQ in Amsterdam. Those will be mostly engineers, designers, product manager, data scientists, of course, product marketing people. And then we also have many around the globe in account management functions. So that is me.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that. And so let's launch ourselves into who the customers of Booking.com are. Very interesting to hear in your own words. How would you describe the customers that buy on Booking.com?
Yeah, sure. So let's start. If we start from the mission, right? Booking.com mission is to make it easier for everyone to experience the world. Of course, when it's safe to do so. So our ambition naturally makes us make sure that we offer the most extensive choice when it comes to accommodation, right? As a matter of fact, on Booking, you can look and book everything that goes, from your resorts to your hotels to, of course, your villas and apartments. So our customers are essentially everyone, and particularly right now. We know that most travelers are yearning for transparency, safety, flexibility, However, their preferences are also continuing to evolve and become more and more diverse in different parts of the world. Of course, travel is returning to some extent at different rates. So it's quite a complex picture overall, but we are always looking to adapt our product to cater to those needs and deliver business to our partners as long as it's safe to do so. What we knew pre-pandemic, for example, is that when most people go online and they look for their next stay, they don't necessarily have a specific accommodation type in mind, right? So they will just go online and look for a place to stay without necessarily knowing if they're going to look for a hotel or an apartment. So that means that we as a platform, we need to make sure that we cater to these needs by offering them a selection, both selection, so something that is as wide as possible, but at the same time that it is presented in a way that is both making it easier for them to compare and make choices, but also understand the individuality and the difference between the different properties, because that way we can truly match the guest expectations and they can, book with confidence and knowing that what they are choosing is matching their preference best. And you can imagine this is even more important right now as travelers are looking for as much information as possible.
Thanks for that. And so quickly about the crisis we've just been through. What did you learn as a team and as a company? I'm talking, obviously about the pandemic, the recent pandemic.
Yeah, sure. So lots of things, and I think as somebody else also said, we are still learning, right? Very much. Before we go into the details, I would like to say that clearly the most recent months have been very challenging for everyone, I think, both from personal and professional level. So personally speaking, my thoughts go out to everyone who's been directly impacted by what is happening and what has happened. Of course, it's a very challenging situation. At the same time, as they say, out of every crisis comes an opportunity. So I'm an optimist. I'm also looking forward to the future and curious about the possibility of new development and new things coming out of this. In terms of learnings, from personal point of view, I've heard this before, but I think it's really important. I really learned how important it is to keep connections, right? Okay, of course you have to be physically distanced in a lot of circumstances and all that, but it doesn't mean that you also have to be socially isolated. So I was saying before, I'm Italian. I lived in the Netherlands for a while, and I lived in the UK before that. So I've been out of Italy for quite a while now. And my parents are still in Italy, and I realized I'm now calling them on a daily basis, which is something I didn't do since I was like 12. Now I also don't know how to break away from this, by the way. So I'm not sure if it will go on forever, but it's certainly important. The second thing is focus on the things you can control. There's lots and lots of information and lots of things happening all the time. So personally, I find it very easy to get a little bit overwhelmed by all these changes and this constant flow of information. Ultimately, there's a lot of stuff which is outside of your sphere of influence. And so, of course, you should be aware of what is happening, but you should also put most of the focus on what you can control. And I was saying at the beginning, there's always an opportunity. So there's an opportunity maybe to learn new skills. I watched this episode with Lisa when she was saying that she did not go on the sourdough bandwagon yet. I did. And that was a very interesting experience. I'm a victim of that trend. But jokes aside, I think it's good to also take the time and the opportunity to really think about, okay, how can I use this time to learn new things or to improve myself? As a team, of course, a lot of what I just shared, but I think it's also very important to prioritize because, it's very important that we continue to focus on delivering as much value as possible, which means we need to both be constantly looking at what is happening in the market and adapting to it, while at the same time having a clear plan and a strategy moving forward. So flexibility coupled with focus and prioritization, never been so important. Attached to that, the listening part, of course, we talked about it many times. But it's really important to be connected with the partners and understanding what is happening and how we as Booking.com can better support them to rebuild the industry together. We know this has been an enormous challenge in time, which has been difficult for everyone. But we are very much leaning in and staying engaged with the industry. We definitely want to do that. Also, I want to do that on a personal level. Lastly, the opportunity bit, as I said before, there will be new trends and emerging consumer behavior coming out of this. There might be, and it's very important for us to be aware of that so we can adapt to the environment which is evolving very rapidly. And of course, if we do that well, then we can deliver business to our partners where it's safe to do so.
Well, that's great, because you're leading me straight into my next question, which is, you said you're looking at what's happening in the market and new trends. So exactly what I want to touch upon is what are the new themes and trends that Booking.com has been seeing happening. In particular, I'd like to talk about booking windows, last minute bookings, cancellations. What's going on at the moment? What have you seen happening?
Yeah. So I think first of all, it's good to point out that we, being a global company, and this crisis has hit different parts of the world at different times and in different ways. So just putting out there this at the beginning. However, generally speaking, we do see some trends, right? And generally, again, we see, first of all, a shift towards a more domestic travel. So that's people traveling shorter distances in their region. Clearly, this might be due to a combination of travel restrictions, but also changing customer preference, with many people being more comfortable just being, closer to home. Europe and the US has had the highest contribution to the improved domestic booking trends in Q2. And domestic room nights, actually, I have a data point here that represented over 70% of our newly booked room nights, both in Q2 and July, which is up significantly versus 2019, where it was around 45%. So definitely domestic is a trend. We also know that customers are looking for more alternative accommodations than in the past. We just disclosed that in Q2, Booking.com alternative accommodation represented about 40% of all new bookings in that quarter, which is a meaningful increase compared to the past. We also see an increased need to have flexibility. Again, in this climate of uncertainty, people might want to reduce, their risk and making sure that they have their options open. So that, of course, is very important. And along the same lines, we see customers looking for reassurance when booking, for example, when it comes to cleanliness standard or any other COVID-specific measures that might be in place in the different accommodations. In terms of booking window, I think in April and May, we saw either a very short or a very long booking windows, but now we are actually seeing that is starting to return to prior years levels. What else? Of course, we're also trying to cater to this need as much as possible. For example, we are focusing our efforts on bringing our partners the tool and the insights that they need to effectively respond to these changes, capture new booking, and rebuild the business. We've made some key product updates. I think we might touch upon it later, but basically to keep it simple to display the precautionary COVID-19 measures to travelers seeking, this more transparency when booking, actively helping partners navigate health and safety regulations and travelers' preferences as well. We are ensuring that we are set up so partners can be set up, let's say, for success when it comes to pricing, availability, and flexibility. All of this is very important, and all of this information is actually available in our partner recovery toolkit, which is a very good source of information that you can find online. Of course, on the customer side, we are also innovating. We want to make sure that we make it easier for customers to find what they are looking for. We have updated our search experience. We've simplified it. For example, for customers that are looking for private entire home accommodation, because obviously this is something that is interesting. Again, on the flexibility, we are promoting the flexible rates to the customers who might need to change their plans. So, we are promoting that on the front end, and at the same time, we are making it easy on our external or through connectivity for partners to adjust their policies to make sure that they are as attractive as possible. Of course, we'll continue to monitor circumstances in every market, observe the restrictions being lifted, and if there is travel emerging in different spots. We have expertise, of course, in digital demand generation to help travelers search for the next tip, and we'll continue to leverage that and incentivizing them to book. So. Lots of stuff. Of course, everything we do, we do it with the ultimate objective and drive to drive business to our partners. And we do it still with our experimentation culture. I think it's interesting also to point out, we talked about it many times. We have thousands of experiments running at the same time. But what this means is that sometimes as a partner, you might feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed by all these changes, but on Booking.com, you can be sure that at any given time, the version of Booking.com that you see online is proven to be the best it can be at that moment. Sorry, it was a bit of a ramble, but it's lots and lots of stuff that we are doing.
I think we can't argue with you that you definitely excel in demand generation. So well done for that. And since we talk so much about, and I wanted to point out that we also covered your health and safety new features on the website
Nice.
Extensively on our blog. So if people wanted to read about that and how to set it up so that they come up in the algorithm, they can check our blog. Recent
Very
posts
nice.
that we did exclusively with you guys and some of your competitors. And so since we're on the topic of innovation and features, why don't we go straight into that and talk about the new features that you are launching or have launched recently. And I'm thinking, anything that's alongside the preferred program, the Genius program, and things like this would be interesting to find out what's going on with this.
Yeah, sure. So as I said before, our platform is of course always dynamic and subject to change because of the experimentation. But some of the things indeed that are new that you've mentioned. One is this what we call a partner performance investment program, which is basically combining the benefits of our existing Genius and preferred programs to bring additional visibility to the eligible partners while offering a financial benefit also as they welcome travelers back. Our Genius and preferred program, by the way, regardless of the current situation, I think are really good options, generally speaking, to boost your visibility, your ranking, and increase your performance on our platform. So if you run a property or if you know that you're eligible for them, I'll definitely encourage anyone to check them out. As you were mentioning, we also made product updates to make it simple to display these precautionary COVID-19 measures to travelers, so that make sure that the transparency requirement there is met. And again, we are actively also helping partners navigate these health and safety regulations and traveler preferences. Other than that, we will continue to build upon what we did in previous years in terms of optimizing the ability to manage your portfolio in bulk, whether that's through the extranet or through connectivity. I think this is really important for us that you should have, as a partner, you should have access to the same set of features regardless of how you choose to connect with our platform. So regardless of the fact that you choose to do it directly or through a partner such as yourself, we really want to make the same features available to everyone, again, because we know that those features work and they add value. So we are continuing also to invest in that, and we'll continue to do that for the rest of the year as well.
Great, wonderful. Thanks so much. So now let's talk about optimization, which I know very many people are listening because of the tips that you may give us in terms of how do we make more bookings on Booking.com. So I have two questions related to that. The first one being, do you see any differences between the urban properties and non-urban properties, and what can we do to improve our ranking, whether in one location, one type of location or the other?
Yeah, so in terms of urban versus non-urban, I think it's always an interesting question that comes up frequently in discussions in the industry. Well, we recently disclosed that we are seeing again the bookers are looking to book accommodation closer to home and in less urban areas, less dense areas. My advice would be that no one knows the market better than the property manager that's operating in that market, right? So I would really suggest use our tools. We provide a lot of analytics tools, both in the SNet and in connectivity, that can help property managers there. You might have an account manager that can provide, additional input also in that. But every property manager should really rely also on their own local knowledge, and most importantly, really putting yourself in the customer's shoes, right? And think, okay, what is it that I am looking for? For example, you can make the hypothesis. I don't have any actual data on this, but you can make the hypothesis that, for example, for urban accommodation, price and flexibility would be particularly important, while in leisure location, a good length of stay pricing and a content that really helps showcase like the space that you're getting and how big the property is for that vacation is very important, right? So again, really being connected with what travelers are looking for in your market and what works there. I think we'll talk about a bit more about this also later on, but in terms of content, please make sure you have good pictures and you make justice to your properties. And again, something maybe we touch upon later, but the price cancellation policies, of course, very important. Do you offer flexible cancellation options? How is your pricing compared to competitors? Do you have different rates for different length of stays? In a lot of conversations with the industry in the past, we talked a lot about revenue management, right? And this is kind of a scary term, and people will tell you revenue management involves like dynamic pricing that changes your pricing thousands of times a day, which of course it might include that also, right? But I think there is an element of revenue management which is in a way simpler and closer to the day-to-day operation, which is literally about, do I have more than one cancellation policy? Do I offer different prices for different length of stay? Do I do any discount or any deal for people that either book in advance or book last minute? If you do these simple tips and you have your base rate or your base price set correctly, but basically you're doing revenue management, right? Without necessarily going into the dynamic pricing, which of course, again, are very important. But I think I also want to demystify a little bit this idea that revenue management is so hard and something that can be done only through very advanced tools.
So let's continue on that. What other tips do you have for us?
Yeah, sure. I think, again, going back to what we were saying before, making sure that we know that transparency and hygiene and cleaning measures are very important. So we do our part. We also ask property managers to do their part in terms of, for example, informing us of what is it that they are putting in place. If they have some special measure or something special, if property managers don't tell us, right, we don't know and we can't tell the guests. So that's very important. Again, the content and the pictures, super important, right? Let's not forget that here we are buying something online. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't buy a pair of shoes if I didn't see any pictures of them, right? I would want to see what the shoes are and how they look like and get an idea if they are comfortable or not. And of course, I want to do that also when I'm booking accommodation online, with the difference that if I buy the shoes and they don't match my expectation, I can easily return them. If the experience that I get in the accommodation doesn't match my expectation, it's not like I can unlive that experience, right? So it's really important to have good content that is representative of what the property actually is. And it starts with the pictures. Again, good quality, both in terms of resolution, in terms of lighting. It needs to be well lit. It needs to be, I'm going to say this, that sounds maybe a bit silly, but it needs to be a picture of something that's meaningful, right? You can have the picture of some details, but I've always wondered, why do people put so many pictures of like doorknobs and cushions and like tiny details? I mean, that is really good if you want to showcase the individual elements of your property. And by all means, do that if you really have amazing feature in your property. But make sure that first you have good pictures of the bedroom, of the bathroom, of any facility, of the outside of the property. Very important. I want to know, for example, is this a busy street? Is this a residential area? What does the outside of the property look like? That the picture is taken in horizontal format and not in vertical format. Again, it seems very simple, but a lot of pictures are displayed in landscape mode, which means if you take the picture in portrait mode, then it's cropped. And I'm 2 meters tall, and basically all of those pictures look like me in the average bathroom window, right? You only see this bit. That's not very helpful. I mean, you can make sure you don't have any stains on your shirt, but other than that, not a lot of information there, right? I'm sort of joking, but not really, right? It is very important. It's very important that the content is there correctly. Of course, last year we developed our quality rating systems that we talked about many times before. So for those of you that might not know what it is, that's basically a system that's powered by some artificial intelligence algorithm, which is basically assigning a quality score in the form of some tiles next to the property name on our platform. And this is meant to represent the objective quality of that property in terms, for example, of features. It's very interesting because it's not a review score, right? Because the review score is a representation of the subjective experience of the traveler. This is more around the objective, let's say, structural qualities of a certain accommodation. But it's interesting because it's also localized, right? So, for example, the algorithm takes into account the set of features of a certain property in comparison to the set of features of similar properties in that area, right? So, for example, if everyone in your area has a swimming pool, then having a swimming pool is very important. If not a lot of properties have swimming pool, then maybe not so important in that area. And this year, we are really continuing to invest on that and investing even more in making it actionable for property managers. So we're providing suggestions on things that a property manager can do to maybe boost their quality rating. Of course, some things are going to be really hard, right? If I tell you, Vanessa, you need to build a swimming pool, that might not be so easy to implement, right? But some other things are actually really easy. Like maybe it's a matter of adding a coffee machine, free Wi-Fi. Those things really don't cost a lot of money to implement and can already boost your rating and therefore making you stand out more in the algorithm. And then maybe the last piece of advice, generally speaking, is just try to think like a customer as much as possible, right? This is an example that I've used many times, but I would guess that if I am running a shop and I'm preparing a shop window, the first thing that I would do after I've set up my shop window correctly with all the good items and everything, I will step out of my shop and look at the shop from outside, right, as a customer, because that is really important. I would encourage all property managers to do that. First, start with the good content, see what they can add, but then really take a step back. Do a search for your location on our platform, see what comes up. you'll be surprised how many things you can learn. If you are in a seasonal destination, by the way, I challenge you to do a search right now and see how many properties right now with 32 degrees have a picture of a snowy mountain or something as their main picture, right? Again, something very simple can be implemented very easily, but it can make a huge difference in terms of customer, matching the customer expectations and ultimately results that you get on the platform.
Well, thanks so much, Alessandro. I love all your analogies, and also the fact that stepping back as a property manager is very important, especially in the times that we're in, because there's a lot of competition, fewer bookings, sadly. So it's very important to look at your shop right now. I like that lesson. Thank you, and to log on to Booking.com and to see all the tips that you guys have, and to be part of this program. I'm going to put some footnotes to make sure that people know where to go, where to find the information. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man, so thank you for doing this with me and for sharing your knowledge. And have a nice day.
It's always a pleasure, Vanessa. Always nice talking to you, and hope I could add some value. And again, thanks very much for having me on the show.
Definitely. Grazie mille. Ciao Alessandro.
Grazie a te. Ciao.
Ciao.